My name is Dr. Della Penna. I am a veterinarian from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I started my practice in 2019, so we'll be 5 years old in September. And I opened as one doctor, and now we have 5.
So what is the thing that brought you to Fortis Business Solutions, Veterinary Practice Solutions in the first place?
Well, I'd ended up kind of in management in just about every job that I had, and I knew that I wanted to start my own practice, but I could see the problems, and I couldn't really see good answers that I felt like would work every time. And once I started doing some of the training with Veterinary Practice Solutions, it just seemed like every problem I had encountered, every question I had was being answered in a way that I was like, holy moly, this makes so much sense. And so from there, it just seemed like the right thing to do to continue with it and keep learning and growing from there.
And I know you said you have a number of doctors now. Tell us, when you started, was it just you, or did you have another doctor with you at the time?
So I started with just me, ground up. So we had 0 clients on day one, and I had 3 staff members at the time. And then as we have grown over the last 4.5 years, I have actually added 4 other doctors. We have about 30 staff members now, and I really have moved out of the position of seeing patients all the time, and now I'm more able to just manage the practice, which is something that I really enjoy and I really wanted. Now I still see patients occasionally, just because I still enjoy it, but I don't have to if I don't want to.
So you don't have to if you don't want to. That's a good point. So tell me, when in the course of your training with Veterinary Practice Solutions did you realize that maybe there was more you could do if you weren't treating all the time?
So, as I continued to train and build the practice, I really just kind of fell in love with the management technology and realized that, my skill set, even though I was a really great veterinarian, I could impact more veterinarians and I could impact more clients by being able to pass it on to other people. And so the best way that I could think to do that was to actually move out of the day-to-day, appointments and surgeries and, kind of down in the thick of it to a position where I could help others do that better. And so it was kind of a natural evolution for me to just then want to become more of the business owner and kind of the mentor and not so much the producer.
So how has Fortis Business Solutions, Veterinary Practice Solutions, helped you to achieve your ideal scene?
I think Fortis Veterinary Practice Solutions, they've kind of helped me just map that road, to realize that it's possible, and B, to really get there way faster than I ever thought that I could. Not just by training me, but by training my staff. I've been able to empower them to make them better at what they do, which takes more and more off of my plate and lets me do the other things that I want to do, to have hobbies, to have time, to not, feel like I am a prisoner of my own practice.
And what would you say is the point in your training where you learned that you really could do more good for your practice by not being a full-time veterinarian?
I think the real turning point in my training was actually when I started to train my staff. Because at the point that I really put people in management positions and then I gave them that skill set to be able to really do their job well, my job got way, way easier and it got a lot more fun. And for me, like being able to empower them and to see them grow into these amazing people and amazing managers, not only makes me proud, and I think makes them, very kind of married to the practice and having a desire to really be there, but it also just really makes my job way, way, way easier too and a lot more fun.
So what training had the biggest impact on you in helping you to achieve your ideal scene?
Wow. That is a really tough question. I actually think training on communication and the tone scale and kind of really being able to meet someone where they're at, and kind of being able to find some understanding with them on some level, really changed the way that I communicate with staff members, that I communicate with clients, and really just, made things so much easier. That might be the best skill, but I'm not sure that I could really pick.
What advice would you give to somebody who's just starting out in their training with Fortis Business Solutions, Veterinary Practice Solutions, Measurable Solutions?
The best advice that I could give would be do it now, and do it fast. The more that I put into myself and my training and my staff and our training, just the better and better the practice did, the better we did as individuals. And, I would do it all over a million times again, just because I know without question the return on investment is there. So if anyone is kind of wavering and not sure, just do it.
And what would you say has been the secret to all of your success?
I think a lot of it is surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me, who have done it longer than me and know the right ways to do things, and getting over that idea that I needed to know everything, already. Veterinary Practice Solutions, Fortis, those are the people that know it better than I know it and are always there to help. So I think that's a huge part of it. Certainly hard work, which I don't think any veterinarian is averse to, just kind of just chipping away at it, piece by piece, trying to just make progress every day.
I'd be remiss if we didn't come back and talk about the number of veterinarians that you have.
Yes.
So you kind of are the queen of finding veterinarians. And I don't want you to give away your secret per se, but what would you say changed for you that you were able to start to find veterinarians in a profession where we only hear about how difficult it is to find veterinarians, etc.? You seem to find them. What changed in you that allowed you to start finding veterinarians?
I think a lot of my own kind of barriers went away when I saw how well I could do with the management system in place. And so you just start to, instead of asking why I can't do things, you say, well, how can I? And so that was always a big part of it, is I never really questioned the idea that there weren't vets out there that were great and that wanted to work for me. And then I think there is kind of an open-mindedness of, not everybody's going to fit a boilerplate of, they want this salary, they want this many days off. And so kind of being willing to, work with that and find out what people really wanted, has been great. And then I think the reputation of my practice for being a good place to work, for doing great medicine, for having, satisfied clients, all just helps to pull them in and attract really, really great talent.
So, final question. If you're talking to somebody who's coming out of veterinary school now or came out in the last year or two, what piece of advice would you give them if they're thinking about starting their own practice or buying a practice?
I wouldn't be afraid of it. I think that as far as our career goes, it's the best way to have longevity, especially because even if tomorrow I decided I want to see patients all day long, I can do that now, and I can do it without kind of the same worry about the future and retirement and all of that, that comes along with it. And I would say don't do it alone. We don't really get any business and management training in school. I've read a lot of books and I've gotten a lot of help from those books, but I've never found the same level of help and continuous support that I have in Fortis.
So if we look at 5 years ago when you started and 5 years later where you're at now, give me a summary of where things were and where things are now.
Okay. So 5 years ago, day one, September 19th, 2019, it was me as the only doctor, 3 support staff, an 1,800 square foot building with 3 exam rooms. Present time, I have 5 doctors, about 30 support staff. Our practice is now 4,000 square feet with 8 exam rooms, and I am able to practice when I want to. I also have a practice that I don't actually physically have to be in for it to run and it to grow. In fact, last year I spent just about half of the year outside of the practice.